Hey guys, so I was going to sit down and do my podcast, but I actually wanted to create a video on this too. So I'll upload this to Facebook and a few other places, as well as the podcast. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, get over to shanemillis.com/podcasts, that is plural, and subscribe and listen. But this week I actually just wanted to add a video to it because it's a little different. I'm not going to be talking much about real estate this week. I just experienced something, just got back. I've been back about a week now. And a lot of people have been asking me about it, and as I found that I started to tell stories about it, I found that I could actually tell the same story three different ways, and it got me thinking about a lot of how we do that as just humans, and how it elicits certain emotions, and how sometimes a lot of us are lying. Yeah, I said that right, lying. It's not necessarily by commission, though. It's by omission. And I found that I could tell the same story, and there was nothing in there that wasn't true, but I could tell it three different ways and elicit three different responses. And I found it fascinating the way people reacted to the stories that were being told. And I thought in my head, how much do we do that to ourselves? How much do we tell stories to ourselves that changes everything? We're telling a story, and it's, like I said, I'll tell you the story here in just a minute. But I can tell it three different ways. In three different ways, it elicits three different responses. And in three different responses, we react differently according to the stories that we tell ourselves. And let me tell you the story the way that I heard it. And again, none of this is a lie. This is 100% truth. So I went to this incredible event. It's called Wake Up Warrior. If you look it up online, wakeupwarrior.tv.com.org, .gov. Well, obviously not gov, but it's an incredible experience for married entrepreneurs across the globe. Met some good friends from South Africa, made some friends from down under in Australia, made some friends up in Canada, and across here in the States. So it was an incredible event, but one of the evolutions, they call them, which is one of the things that we had to do. We had to go through so many evolutions. One of the things we had to do was we had to get into what they call the warrior square dance, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to box. We're going to put gloves on and we're going to box. And so I got in the ring, headgear on, obviously, and mouthpiece in, and got in the ring. And I got to choose who I got in the ring with. So I actually chose a guy from Florida because I'm a Florida State guy. He played football at Florida. He also was a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which means I'm now stepping into a ring with an ex-NFL wide receiver. Now, see, I knew I had seen him. One of the reasons I chose him was because I've seen him box right before. And every time the round would start, he would always open with a right hook. It was a strong haymaker right hook. That's the way it was. So I knew it in myself. I said, okay, as soon as that bell rings, that right hook's coming. I just know it is because that's always how he opens. Sure enough, bell rang, here come the right hook. Well, I'd have enough martial arts training in me to know how to throw a high block, a basic white belt high block. So that's exactly what I did because he's about my height, if not about an inch taller than me, which for those of you who have seen me in person, I'm 6'2". I'm not a small guy. So this guy's about my height, if not a little bit. He may be an inch either way. Anyways, that punch was coming. And then I was able to throw the block. I got the block out, bam, nailed him. Was able to nail him right here. I mean, I hit him and hit him hard. And it was a great lesson. It was a great lesson. I see. There's a lot of times and a lot of people and a lot of stories told to where that would be the end. I got in the ring with an ex-NFL wide receiver, laid one on his jaw. That elicits certain responses. There's some people out there going, wow, this guy's full of himself. There's other guys puffing up. You know the guys that are, yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, they wouldn't even step in the ring. But you're right. Yeah. Made me feel good to tell it that way. Yeah, I laid one. Ask him. Him and I are friends. Still lives in Gainesville. You ask him. I got the lick. It was there. But that's one way to tell the story. Let me tell you another way of telling this story. See, there's an evolution that happened. We had to get into what they call the warrior square dance. And so I had to get into the ring. And when I got in the ring, my opponent was an ex-NFL wide receiver. Now, I'd seen him box before, so I knew that the right hook was coming. He was coming with a right hook as soon as the bell rang. And sure enough, that's what came. I was able, again, the martial arts training, I was able to get the block out, got a good punch in. I knew that was coming, executed. The problem is, there was 3 seconds gone, and it was a 30-second bout. Yeah, it's not a 5 minutes bout. We're not doing Rocky Balboa stuff around here, okay? This is a 30-second bout. So I still had 27 seconds to go, if I can English today. I still had 27 seconds to go. I didn't think through that part. So I got the hit, and I spun him, and I tried to hammer down some. And when I hammered down some, I got a few more blows in. But inevitably, he come back up, caught a jab right here that turned me a little bit. And when it turned me right into his next right hook right here. Stunned me. I turned around and got stunned. The only thing I could think to do was to throw another jab, which I did. I threw it one more jab that kind of stunned him. Bell rang. That was the end of it. But boy, I couldn't see for a second. Medic pulled me out. I got blood coming here, and I cut my lip and everything else. It was an experience. Now, see, when I tell it that way, it elicits a different response from you, doesn't it? You either have more respect for me for getting in the ring. You have more respect for my opponent. Or you just go, wow, you were an idiot. Why in the world were you in a boxing ring with an ex-NFL player? That's the response. But those same people that thought I was cocky now think I'm an idiot. Now, I haven't told you anything different. This is the same story. And again, all of this is true. But it's how we perceive the story. And what lie are we telling by omitting something? Not commission. I'm not lying by commission. I'm lying by omission. Finally, let me tell you, as the one announcer says, I forget the rest of the story. As we got up to the boxing ring, I had had some blood pressure problems. My blood pressure had been rising more and more and more. We were in a stressful situation. The whole event was stressful. It was emotionally draining. It was physically draining. So the EMT was really taking a look at me. I got up to the ring, and they pretty much said, I'm not quite sure you're going to be able to do this just because of your blood pressure. I'm sure it was a liability thing. But I told them I had to. I had to do that event. That cycle, I had to do it. And they asked me why. Why did I have to do it? And I was honest with them. I said, because I'm afraid of that ring. Now, there's a lot of guys that won't have the balls to say that. I did. I'm afraid of that ring. And I cannot leave this event still being afraid. So I got to do it. Well, everybody had gone. There were 17 of us in the group, along with all the coaches and the refs and the trainers and the EMTs. So 16 of them had gone. And the owner looked me in the eye, put my headgear on, and said, okay, you're right. You need this. Probably worse than anybody here. Let's go. But after the round, you immediately step out and the EMT's watching you, okay? Fair enough. I had to do this. So I stepped in the ring. When I stepped in the ring, the announcer, one of the coaches, looked at me and said, listen, you're the last guy in, which means you get the choice. You get the choice of who you're going to fight. And see, when I stepped into that ring, it wasn't for me. I wasn't there for me. At that point, at that moment in my life, I was not there for me. I was there for both my kids and my wife. Period. Because I don't want them to think that I'll ever ask them or tell them to do something I'm not willing to do or haven't done myself. And I know as my daughter steps into high school, there's going to be some things that are going to hit her. There's going to be things that she's going to be afraid of. My son's learning that adulthood is not as all it's cracked up to be. And there's going to be some things that will hit him. So I needed to step in the ring. I needed to show them that you can be afraid of something and still beat it. So when they asked me, as the last person, who I wanted to go against. Now remember, I already had a chance to back out of this. I had a chance to graduate this program and not complete this evolution because of a medical condition. They literally were giving me an out, and I said no. Now I have a chance to pick maybe the little scrawny guy, just so I can say I did it. I did it. I go pound on him a little bit and I'm done. That wasn't why I was there. Instead, I picked the ex-NFL wide receiver. The one who I knew was going to hit the hardest, because that's why I was there. Now I knew and had thought through and saw him fight, so I knew a right hook was coming as soon as the bell rang. And sure enough, as soon as it did, I was able to block. Here come that right hook. I was able to block, got a good lick in right here. How many times in life when we come out of the starting blocks, we're able to hit life right here. Bam. Got that lick. Now again, just like I told it before, I'm only 3 seconds in. I got another 27 seconds to go. So I got a couple more licks in. And then just like life, they got a jab to me. And when he turned me with a jab, I didn't see the other right hook coming. Hit me right here. Boom. It stunned me. Spun me around. Literally, I think I landed the jab out of accident. Because I seen the hook coming. I took it and literally landed the jab as I spun. And the bell rang. And you know what? As I opened my eyes and looked, the bell had rung. I didn't see an ex-NFL player. I really didn't see Alex. Alex was the guy that I was fighting. I saw every bully. I saw every business person that's done me wrong. I saw life standing right in front of me. And you know who I saw in my corner? I didn't see my coaches. I saw my wife and my kids standing there. And you know what I was doing? I was still freaking standing. Life had given me everything he had. And I was still freaking standing. It's the same story. All 3 times. All I did was the first 2 stories, I kind of lied by omission. I told you what I wanted you to hear. But what I want to challenge you now to think through as you hear this story. A, are you afraid to step in the boxing ring with life? Are you afraid to take the chance? And B, what story are you telling for every event that's happened to you up to now? Are you lying to yourself by omission? I'm not talking about just family. We can talk about business too. Are you really doing everything you can to get ahead? Are you taking the risks? They're calculated, but they need to be there. Or are you just satisfied that you had that one shot? You got that one shot. See, I hear that all the time when I talk to guys specifically, athletes. They talk about the glory days. How many guys talk about the glory days? Oh my goodness, we talk about the glory days. You know, when I was in high school or when I was in college, we did this. We won a championship. Yeah, I got a championship nets hanging around. My high school team won the championship here. Great story. Only team that beat us in the regular season, we met in the championship, got them. Fantastic. But is that it? Is that where the story ends? So I challenge you, is that where your story ends? Are you lying to yourself by omission? Because you're not telling the whole story? I know this really didn't have a whole lot as far as real estate is concerned involved in it, but I felt like I needed to share that because that might mean something to somebody. Thanks for listening to 5 Minutes in Real Estate. We'll talk to you next week.